Today on The Social, it's Bell Let's Talk Day.
Let me be direct. We are in the midst of a rupture, not a transition.
A clear message from Prime Minister Carney. We react to his rallying speech at the World Economic Forum. And is closure overrated? During difficult times, closure is often the first thing we seek, but experts are asking, is this always necessary? Then, Canadian artists are turning up the volume on mental health and addiction awareness. The new concert documentary shining a spotlight on the power of community. Plus, did you know just 20 minutes in nature can improve your mood? We get a look at some of the best winter playgrounds here in the Great White North. It all starts now on The Social.
So much. Welcome, everybody. In case you don't know, today is Bell Let's Talk Day, and we are going to be talking about mental health throughout the entire show and to also give it the moment it deserves. So that's where, if you've been watching our commercials today, So joining us first is comedian and content creator Carley Thorne. Welcome back to the show, Carley. Great to see you back. I'm so thrilled. Okay, you saw a little clip there off the top. We are, in fact, starting with Prime Minister Mark Carney's big speech yesterday about our rapidly changing world. It's a speech that has been getting global attention. He made the remarks at the World Economic Forum yesterday, which was Tuesday. So take a listen.
We know the old order is not coming back. We shouldn't mourn it. Nostalgia is not a strategy. But we believe that from the fracture, we can build something bigger, better, stronger, more just.
Now, Carney did not to that.
Yeah.
So many quotes. Though Carney did not specifically call out U.S. President Donald Trump or even say the United States, the message was crystal clear. And countries like Canada, he says, need to change how they operate. So this comes on the heels of this trip that he did also last week to Beijing. Anybody watching that? He clinched a deal to get China to lower tariffs on Canadian canola. Let's have a reaction to this big speech yesterday. What did you think, Cyn?
I mean, for people who haven't watched it from start to finish, you must. People are saying this is a speech that will go down in history, and I felt so many emotions while I was watching it. I thought it was intelligent. I thought it was moving. I thought it was a little, arousing in its own way, because I was just I was in awe of this man, and I thought to myself, most politicians, let's be honest, they don't write their own speeches. And I found out he wrote this speech, and that is incredible. It spoke to, I think, a lot of truths in a very calm way, and it also inspired hope. What I was noticing in the comments were people from Europe, people who are our allies, most of our allies, and people from within Canada who have been notoriously on opposite sides of the spectrum, namely people maybe from Calgary, were all writing, yes, Prime Minister, yes, we are so proud of what you've done here. So I felt this kind of glow, and then followed quickly by a bit of terror. Are you guys afraid?
Why were you terrified?
Just this gonna poke, we already know Donald Trump is unhinged, and he's gonna be very mad.
He's responded to
that.
Yes,
but he's unhinged about everything.
That is true.
You flip your hair to a different side, he's gonna get upset about that.
Yeah.
I think, first of all, I was not surprised at the quality of that speech, because that's what I expect from our Prime Minister, and he delivered. And I feel like the reason why we're all responding this way is because the last 12 months have been absolute chaos, between Epstein files and weaponizing tariffs and ICE and all of that stuff, a lot of us are watching the news and feeling very helpless. And we're also kind of waiting for somebody to stand up and say something, because typically or historically, the United States, the leader of the United States, has always been the person to kind of calm everybody down when there's chaos. And now they are the chaos.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're all just kind of going, well, we don't know what to do if the Americans aren't the one calming everybody down. So that speech was so neat, and I think that's why everybody's responding that way. But kudos to our Prime Minister, very proud Canadian this morning after that speech.
What do you think, Carley?
I feel the same. It made me feel proud to be a Canadian, which is a good feeling to have. Like you said, we're so divided that sometimes you don't always feel that way. So I was really happy about that. I also liked that he didn't reference America specifically. I'm a bit tired of hearing about them all the time and hearing about Canada in relation to them. It's nice to talk about us and ourselves. I like that he said nostalgia is not a strategy. He's so intelligent and well-spoken and I think knowledge and confidence are how you deal with a bully. And he has both of that, and he's giving that to us. He's making us knowledgeable about tariffs and the economy, and he's making us confident about being a Canadian. And I think that's an amazing thing.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember when we talked about him coming into office, that we were like, oh, he's a bit boring? Do you remember?
Yeah.
I love boring so much. I love today. I love boring so much. He is brilliant. And when you watch yesterday's speech, it was preceded by the host who actually listed all of Mark Carney's accomplishments. And he is a global man. And so he brought that breadth of experience to that speech yesterday. And I want to pull out a couple of quotes because the whole thing is quotable. Everything could be a T-shirt that he said yesterday. For example, middle powers must act together because if you are not at the table, you are on the menu.
That was a good one. I like that one.
Great powers can afford to go it alone. They have the market size, the military capacity, the leverage to dictate terms. Middle powers do not. But when we only negotiate bilaterally with the hegemon, we negotiate from weakness. This is the good stuff. We accept what is offered. We compete with each other to be the most accommodating. This is not sovereignty. It is the performance of sovereignty while accepting subordination. He yesterday said all the quiet parts out loud without ever invoking the name of the man who unfortunately today is saying Carney should watch what comes out of his mouth, essentially. I paraphrase. So I too am proud. I'm also very scared, but at the same time, at least Mark Carney so far is coming out as who I think is going to lead these so-called middle powers through this tumultuous time. And I'm so
I know, and we need that. I know.
So
Aren't you a proud Canadian?
So
I'm
proud.
so proud today. I'm always proud, but super proud today. All right, so let's move on. A mom wrote into the Globe and Mail that her family is delaying pet ownership until her toddler is older. She writes that cost is a consideration, but so is the mental and physical toll of having a dog would add to their lives. So, Carley, how important is it for kids to grow up with pets?
I think it's very important. I grew up with animals. I love animals. I just got a new cat recently, and thank you. Her name is Jennifer.
Oh, Jennifer! I love human names. Love a pet with a human name. That's so cute.
And I implied to my partner the other day that I gave birth to her by accident. Like, I love animals so much. I think that that partnership is so sacred. It teaches you to be compassionate, teaches you to take care of something.
Yeah, absolutely.
I grew up with a bunch of animals. I think getting an animal is similar to going to Disneyland with a child. You should wait until they can have memories of it.
Okay.
Don't take a child to Disneyland when they're 3 because then they don't remember it.
Yeah.
Get a dog when they're 10 and then they can hopefully help a little bit and remember it and have like a lovely life with those animals. Like my family dogs that I grew up with were like my brothers.
Yes.
You know?
I love this and I believe in this, even though I didn't grow up with pets at all. And I still think there are ways, like I obviously learned compassion and all the kinds of things. I learned all those things. There are other ways to do that. But right now we had a cat. The cat died during the pandemic, R.I.P. Sally Hot Dog. And then since then I was like, I needed a pet. I really want a dog or a cat, and Jason hasn't been ready. And so we made the mistake of getting fish.
What's the mistake?
I just don't recommend this at all.
Okay, but here's the deal. I think you reverse order. What you're supposed to do is start off with something simple like a goldfish and then work your way up to the dog and the cat.
Yeah.
Or the cat and the dog.
But still, because the fish is just like, there's so much work. I thought it was going to be easy, but it is so much
just
work.
a bowl and a little bit of food every day.
No, it's not.
You
It
got
is
fancy
not.
fish.
tank.
Wait, you got fancy fish.
You have to clean the tank. I started them in a bowl.
That's
they
hard?
were growing, and that was not good. And then plus you have to clean it all the time, and they give you no rewards. And then things got weird They got
What
fighting
does
with
the
each other.
goldfish owe you? What did you want it to do?
I just wanted some, like, if
You
I'm
wanted
gonna
to
invest-
recognize you.
That's right.
Yeah,
Say hi
yeah.
when I walk in the door.
Yeah.
See, I know my parents
I
wouldn't.
get
I know. My parents wouldn't allow me to have a pet, but I desperately wanted a dog, and I remember asking when I was like 8 or 9, and then I got a sister, and I was like, I'm pretty sure I said dog, but I don't know. It got lost in translation. But you know what they did? They started off small. Like I got a pet rock. And then and then we were, I know, very fancy. Because if you're worried about cost and taking care of you, and you want to make sure the kid is invested and they understand, because kids want a dog until they have to walk it every single day and feed it and all the vet bills. But you work your way up. Then I went to the goldfish. Then I went to the budgie. And then eventually I got the dog. And it's like, yeah, I learned something from each one of those animals. So you went backwards with the goldfish.
I think we learned you need something with fur or hair.
Thank you. I do.
Yeah,
I do.
scales don't cut it.
No.
They don't cut it.
Yeah.
Sorry, lizard lovers. Let's take a break, everybody, and then closure. It's often the first thing that we seek in difficult times, but is closure overrated? So do you want and need closure? We're going to discuss after the break. Welcome back, everybody. It is Bell Let's Talk Day, and as always, we want to hear from you. So find us on social media, and that is how you can join this conversation.
All right, is closure overrated? Well, a piece in the New York Times points out that when difficult things happen, our first instinct is to seek answers. But experts told the Times that it can also cause you even further pain. So how important is closure to you guys?
Ooh,
Very? Okay, so I see some no's, varies? Okay.
Obviously, I think it depends on the situation and who hurt you and what happened. I just think it would be so much faster and cheaper to get over your trauma if you did get closure from that other person, because then you could save that money from therapy. Because personally, and I'll go back to stuff that I've talked about on the show a lot, when I had an ex-partner who was disloyal to me and had cheated on me for a very long time, all I wanted was an acknowledgement. Yes, I did that. I was gaslighting you for a year, and you were right and I was wrong. Like, that's the simplistic version of it. But of course, we know that's the ideal world. That's not how things happen. But you never know if an ex-girlfriend becomes a national talk show host.
Ooh, yeah.
And when that happens, then I just air my grievances on air, and I feel much better now.
So you
I
have-
need the closure.
I love that. Because basically, you've kind of made your own closure.
You've helped me.
There you go.
Right.
I'm just curious if now, like, how would you feel if because you said there was a time when you would have appreciated he picked up the phone and said, like, I did this and I'm sorry and whatever.
Yeah.
How would you feel if he did it now at
I
this
actually
stage?
still think it
You
would be amazing.
Really?
Because I think a lot of people have done, like, have realized as they've gotten older and they've learned and they've had different relationships that they made some mistakes, and they hesitate to go back to those people because you don't want to open up, like, what if he's like, oh, she's in a happy marriage, she has a child. I don't want to open up that can of worms, even if it could provide closure.
Yeah, I don't like to put my happiness in other people's hands. I just find other people very disappointing sometimes. Like, to me, I could get that closure, but I think oftentimes the actual answer when somebody hurts you, or like if you don't get a job that you wanted and you want closure as to why you didn't, a lot of times the answer is it's not really about you at all, which is worse to me. I want it to be, that hurts my feelings.
Yeah.
So I think to me, I'd actually rather be delusional. Like if I don't get a job,
You don't want to know.
I want to be like, oh, I'm happy I didn't get that job because their HR department is so bad that they couldn't see how amazing I am.
There you go.
Right?
Yeah,
So you
or-
get to do your own spin.
Yeah, your ex-husband is just, like, if he can't see what he has in front of him.
Ex-boyfriend, but
Yes, ex-boyfriend,
thank you.
ex-partner. Yeah, can't see what he has in front of him.
Right.
That's a serious personality flaw. Doing you a favor in the long run, now you have a wonderful life.
So you
That's a good way to
spin
look
it.
at
You
it.
spin it to make your own closure.
That's
yeah,
I like
yeah.
that
I don't
idea.
know if it's healthy in the long run.
In romantic relationships, I know I don't need the closure, but my therapist and I had a really interesting conversation about the word because it does mean different things to different people.
Sure.
For some people, closure means, oh, I want to see you again just to see if there's maybe a little bit of a spark because I want back in, but I'm coming with closure. Other people are like, there are things that I didn't say or maybe I didn't have the courage to say back then, so I want to say them now because I'm still holding on to that years later. And then there are other people who want closure because they want to be like, look at me, you messed up. Didn't you see? I want you to acknowledge that you messed up. But there's a clip going viral. This woman is getting married and her fiance said, I want closure with my girlfriend. And so she drove him to his girlfriend's house. And I want you guys to take a
Like
look
an
at this clip.
ex-girlfriend.
This is his ex-girlfriend.
Okay.
This is him saying goodbye to his ex-girlfriend. And this is him falling apart. And she writes, he was telling her, his ex-girlfriend, he was saying this to, you were my first everything, my first love, and he was crying so hard that he could barely breathe. Now, she goes on to say that she feels good about allowing him to have that moment, but I don't know about you, that didn't look like closure to me. That looks like someone who has a lot of feelings about their ex, and he's supposed to be getting married in a couple of weeks to the woman who was recording that video.
That's the
so
thing.
I'm saying closure means different things to different people.
That's a whole other topic.
I know. They think that's closure.
I can't imagine sitting behind that wheel watching that happen as he's talking to her. I'd be like, beep, 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 beep.
I'd be wearing
Wrap it up.
Okay, there's been talks of facial conformity in Hollywood, that by imitating a narrow beauty standard, that everyone is kind of starting to look the same. Now, a writer for Allure is actually arguing that thanks to women like Helen Mirren, Claire Danes, and Jessie Buckley, we are starting to see real human faces on screen more often again. So, Carley, do you think we're seeing a sort of backlash to what they're referring to as the facial conformity era?
I hope so. I hope at least in terms of Hollywood, we at least get to see a diversity of the ways in which faces look. And you got to see that, I think, like, if I rewatch something from even 20 years ago, there are such different faces, you know? When I was rewatching The West Wing earlier this year, or last year, you would simply never see a hairline like that on TV today. A receding hairline, or in period pieces, people with big veneers in a period piece, things like that, where I think your job as an actor is to communicate the breadth of the human experience and look like a bunch of different people. I think that it's good to look like a different person, you know?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think there's a backlash against this face because we've seen a lot of, I'm not gonna name any names because I don't wanna hurt anybody's feelings, but I think we've seen a lot of very attractive public people who've done stuff to themselves and we're like, why did you do that? You looked great before, you didn't need that.
Yeah.
And then you see everybody else doing the same thing and it's like, why is everybody making their mouth so big, their nose so small, and filling up their face where it's like, you're contorting yourself to a way, it doesn't actually make you look younger or better, you just look different. But recently, I've just taken 2 trips out of the country and I realized this is very North American and specific places in North America.
Yes.
Because I went to other places, there are chipped teeth and wrinkles and wonky eyes and warts all over the place, and no one's fixing it. It's like, I think it's us and our algorithm is what we're telling each other how we're supposed to look, because it's not outside of these borders as much.
Yeah,
No.
I mean, listen, Europe, they're just in a different world, in a nice bubble that we'd like to maybe bring back here. I actually don't see a backlash. I don't know. And that's not because I like to put needles in my own face, okay? Just for the record. I actually think there is a major difference between you being an actor in Hollywood and it is your job to portray different people and
show
make
emotion.
it reality and show emotion. We remember when Nicole Kidman, it was the 2014 Cannes Film Festival. She showed up, she was doing Grace in Monaco, or it was when she played Princess Grace. People went for her. Now, you can't see her face moving, but when she started to move at this red carpet, people freaked out and they started to say, your face is frozen, what did you do? Because she's an actress. But guess who else occupies a lot of screen time that influences us maybe even more heavily than Nicole Kidman? It's reality stars.
Yes.
And there is not a backlash. Any housewife, they all look the same. Love Island, as soon as people get big on reality TV, that's where you see facial conformity. But those people are more accessible and relatable to me than Nicole Kidman. I gotta say, so I just think, you know.
I feel like we don't have enough time to, but I feel like that's an interesting statement. So why do you feel they're more related? Like the reality stars on The Real Housewives, like, to me, they're totally unrelatable.
I don't mean, I'm not a housewife, but the idea that they are a reality star, their job is to not have an emotive face. Their job is to, quote unquote, look a certain way. Or Love Island. Those are everyday, regular people.
But I feel like if you watch, because I watch those shows, the first season those women are on, they all have their regular face. And then by the nenext season, I think they read all the comments about what's wrong with them, and then they come back and you're like, who's that?
I mean, even on,
Right?
I'm obsessed with the Mormon Wives. That's it's not good.
So listen,
you know?
I got housewives.
Yeah,
It's okay.
exactly. And it's so sad. Those women are very young. Like they're very, very young, and they actually look a bit older after the first season, yet because they get a bunch of plastic surgery. And again, it doesn't make you look younger, it just makes you look different. It makes you look done. And it's sad.
Yeah.
I mean, again, if it makes you feel better, then it's good. But I agree with you. I think it's in reaction to negative feedback.
Negative feedback, but I just want to say, during the pandemic, when everybody was on Zoom, there was a Botox boom because we were all looking at ourselves on screen for the first time somehow. Anyway, Carley, this is why we love having your perspective.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming back. All right, up next, everybody, a brand new documentary showing us what happens when the who's who of Canadian music come together for mental health. It's going to be a fabulous discussion coming up next. Welcome back to the show, everybody. Well, artists from across the country are turning up the volume on mental health and addiction, using their music as medicine in a powerful new concert documentary, Live Loud Live. Take a look.
Matthew is a dear old friend of mine, and very happy to participate in anything that aids in this cause.
So we invented a thing called Matthew Perry House, which is the brick and mortar embodiment of more help, where nobody ever says, you gotta walk out the door now, you're done.
Addiction is intrinsically tied to trauma and poor mental health. All that stuff lives in the dark, so we're here to shed that light.
Listen to me. Clap your hands, yeah. Stomp your feet.
Here to tell us more is the chair of Bell Let's Talk, Mary Deacon, and executive director of Matthew Perry House, Caitlin Morrison. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
So exciting.
So exciting.
I get chills with that. So, Caitlin, we mentioned this, that the lineup of talent in this concert, it is a who's who of Canadian music icons. We've got City and Colour, Serena Ryder, Billy Talent, all lending their voice publicly for such an important cause. So, you're Matthew's sister. I want to know, why was it important for Matthew Perry House to shed a light on mental health, but through this way, with music?
I will tell you that. First, thank you for not accusing me of fangirling backstage with all the artists, but I totally was. But music was like the love language of Matthew. He had a song for every day. I could tell his mood by what he was listening to. It was his #1 mental health support. And he had a beautiful singing voice, actually. So he would sing along with stuff, hum tunes all day long. It was great. And so I knew that, something to do with music was always something I really wanted to do. And then this notion of this concert came up with Make Music Matter. And it wasn't just about music and celebration, but it was also about the artists themselves talking about their mental health, talking about the people they loved who were going through things. And it was just all so close to that openness that he had, and the thing that I think made him really brave and amazing and helped people. And so it just was obvious, like, we have to do this. Plus, it was really, really, really fun.
So great, so important. Mary, this is actually the 16th year of Bell Let's Talk. So how have you seen the conversation around mental health and addiction really shift over the years to where we are today?
I think there's so much more openness, willingness to have the conversations, willingness to talk about getting help, people supporting each other. And, there's something that happens. I use an expression, vulnerability is a bridge to belonging. When people share personal stories like they did at the concert, right? These icons in many of our lives, it gives permission to other people to talk about their struggles and their journey and help them feel they're not alone. It gives them a sense of social connection and belonging. And that is a wonderful thing that we've seen grow and grow and amplify over the last 16 years.
Yeah, I can't believe it's been 16 years. It's wild. So, Caitlin, Matthew Perry House, it supports individuals as they rebuild their lives after addiction treatment. And this is what it is so-called transitional housing. Why is that so important?
Well, addiction isn't just about the substance use. It's an illness that ends up touching every part of your life. It touches your relationships, it touches your job, your finances, you name it. It kind of destroys everything in, I think Matthew would say, in like an effort to keep you on board. Like, you have to be with me. I'm the only good thing in your life. Everything else is terrible. So with traditional treatment, sort of shorter term treatment, the problem is you're in this kind of comfortable place, you get a little bit of sobriety, but all that other stuff is still broken. And so, the transitional housing piece is about supporting people as they get back to stability in all those other parts of their life too. And then the other thing that we want to be looking at is, why do people have to get to a crisis point when everything is broken? And how can we talk about substance use health in a way that people can review their own relationships with substances and say, hey, is this working for me? Or is this starting to be a relationship where, you know, it's maybe having more of an impact on my life than I want it to before everything is broken?
Point.
It's clear that Matthew's legacy is also living on through his friends, and we saw that little clip from the documentary, Hank Azaria, who is a longtime friend of his, and he talks in the film about the impact that Matthew had on his life and on his own sobriety. Is there something that you've learned about your brother through stories like this that really resonates with you?
Yeah, several. So, I mean, Hank is freaking superhero, man. Hank is so cool and nice and amazing and wants to help all the time. I just want to shout out for him because he's amazing. But also, in the weeks and months after Matthew died, I got calls from a lot of people who, part of me was like, oh my God, so-and-so is calling me, but also I'm very sad, so it doesn't matter, who would tell me stories like, my wife was in crisis and he made sure she got where she needed to be to get well. Or I was in crisis and he held my hand and he brought me to this place and he helped me out. Or, you know, this was a guy I could lean on every time things were hard. So many stories like that. I mean, he went around and he, even when he was struggling, did everything he could do to help anyone else who was struggling. And so there are like, he saved my life stories all over the place, and that just makes me feel amazing.
So good. Wow. Mary, this year's Bell Let's Talk Day theme is taking a moment for mental health. So what do you hope people will take away from that reminder?
That there are very simple and practical things we can all do in our daily life that can support our mental health and well-being. And, you know, even in these very stressful times where there's so much uncertainty in the world, there are things that we have control of. And there are things that, you know, sometimes, okay, we think of them as mental health things like meditation, breathing exercises, but there is a whole bunch of other things that we may not typically think of in that light, like being in nature, exercising, listening to music, expressing gratitude, digital detoxing, and spending time sharing activities with friends and family. All of these things, there is the evidence to support that they actually improve your mental health, foster resilience, and social connection. And that's what we're trying to get across, so that people will do those things, learn about those things, and build them into their daily lives, not just on Bell Let's Talk Day.
That's the point. Mary, Caitlin, thank you both. Thank you both for all the work that you are doing. Truly, truly, truly. We want to tell you the documentary is called Live Loud Live. It's a Bell Let's Talk special, and it premieres today, 3 p.m. Eastern, right here on CTV. It's also available right now if you'd like to stream it on Crave. Speaking of nature, coming up next, how nature can improve your mood, right after this. We are back. Okay, not a surprise to anybody here. January does have a reputation for being one of the most depressing months of the entire year. I don't know why. We are dealing with shorter days, little sunshine, frigid temperatures that make many of us want to just curl up and hibernate.
Absolutely, but research shows that as little as 20 minutes in nature can help improve your mood. So here to help us get outside and into nature is Megan Reddick from the Trans-Canada Trail. Welcome to the show. Good to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Well, this is really exciting. I didn't know this before this segment, but the Trans-Canada Trail launched their Blas to Oz campaign. Can you tell us what that is?
Yeah, so Trans-Canada Trail is a national charity, and we have a big vision to get everybody outside, embracing the outdoors, connecting with one another out on the trails, and experiencing that restorative power of nature that we can get from being outside. And so this is our winter wellness campaign. It's about turning your winter blahs into
That's a nice way to look at it. So what does a 20-minute nature break look like on the Trans-Canada Trail?
Yeah, there's so many incredible activities that you can do no matter your skill level. Snowshoeing and hiking and skiing. There's some fantastic things you can do from coast to coast to coast. Trans-Canada Trail is actually the world's longest trail, and it connects from every coast across Canada through every province and territory. So 80% of Canadians are actually living within just 30 minutes of the trail, so it's closer than you think. There's trail close to you, and there's many activities you can do just to get outside. Take 20 minutes. It's so good for your mental health, so good for your physical health. We've done research that shows that mental health benefits and physical health benefits. We've done some studies. It's $1.7 billion reduction on healthcare costs because of trail users that go out on the trail.
Wow.
That's a
Okay,
great stat.
it's a long trail. We're going to start to look at some of the sections of this trail. So why don't we start out in the east, in Newfoundland and Labrador, with the East Coast Trail. Tell us about this area.
Yes, the East Coast Trail is a beautiful section of the Trans-Canada Trail. It's our easternmost point near Cape Spear, and it's actually home to Kilometer Zero, and it has spectacular coastal views.
That's beautiful.
Yes. 300-kilometer long linear hiking trail takes you through cliffs and sea stacks and fjords, and many sections might be a little hard for some, but there's some easier trail sections for all. So, I encourage everybody to get outside and take a moment to see what's out there.
Yeah, that's beautiful. All right, so we're sticking with the East Coast for our next stop. Talk to us about the Celtic Shores Coastal Trail in Nova Scotia.
Another beautiful landscape for Canada. Canada, we're so lucky to have these incredible nature views. This is the West Coast near Cape Breton Island, and it's mostly a flat trail. It's perfect for cross-country skiing, for snowshoeing, and here you can definitely find some of these moments. It's a great way to experience a local Celtic culture. You could stop at some cafes and restaurants and, enjoy some Celtic music along the way.
That is really neat. Okay, let's head over to Quebec now. Petit Train du Nord Trail. It is next on the list. So where does this beautiful trail take us to?
Oui. Le Petit Train du Nord is part of a Sentier Transcanadien in Quebec, and it runs through the Laurentians. It's on an old railway line that was actually converted to a trail. And here you have picturesque forests, lakes through quaint villages like Saint-Jérôme, Mont-Laurier, and of course the popular ski resort, Mont-Tremblant, is found along this route. And many of these old train stations have actually been converted into rest stops, so you can stop along and have like some cafe and some poutine and some wine, perhaps.
Wow.
You have me at poutine and wine. That sounds fantastic. All right, so we're going to head to our northern coastline for the next trail in Nunavut. So what should we know about this section of the Trans-Canada Trail?
Yes, this is one of our remote trails up in the north. It's Itiakiak Trail, and it starts on the south shore of Frobisher Bay near Iqaluit in Nunavut and the shores of Glasgow Bay to Hudson Strait. The trail is kind of a cool name. It means the trail over the land. And I'd say this is one of the more adventurous trails, as you can see by the landscape. It's for maybe some more experienced hikers, but it's so worth it. And there's even little huts along the way, like little warming stations that you can stop along and have a nice awe moment.
Wow, that is
Beautiful.
so cool. Let's move over now to North Saskatchewan to Edmonton with the Beaver Hill Road Trail.
So this section here is in North Saskatchewan near Edmonton. And this trail is a stunning views here. You've got, it runs right along the river, and it's a beautiful trail to experience. As you can see, you can do as many activities, hiking, snowshoeing, skiing, some stunning landscapes again here in Edmonton.
Now, this trail connects to some popular spots in and around Edmonton. So what else could we get up to if we chose this trail?
Yeah, one of the things that's great about the trails, it's really connected to so many landscapes and cultural moments along the trail. And so you can see some incredible things like you can go see the University of Alberta, the Mootart Conservatory, Alberta Legislator, Fort Edmonton Park, the Valley Zoo. And this is just an example of one of the trails that you can go and stop along the way and get some culture and some history, which really helps this time of year and get to see some beautiful things along the way.
Yeah, and appreciate our country just that little bit more. All right, and lastly, we're finishing on Vancouver Island with the Cowichan Valley Trail. So what makes this one so special?
Again, I keep saying everything is so beautiful, but this truly is one of the most spectacular views. You can see here, you're right on the coast. You've got some gorgeous water, beautiful old trestle bridges. Part of our role as a national charity is we provide funding and resources to local trail groups. So, some of these bridges we've been able to restore, make them more climate resilient and open all year round so that everybody can enjoy them.
Stunning.
Wow. Yeah.
Goodness.
It's really breathtaking.
We did get some Oz during this segment,
Gorgeous,
didn't
right?
we? That's our country, y'all.
It is.
That's our country. So cool. Hey, Megan, thank you so much for bringing us all this amazing information. Really fascinating. If you want to find more information, maps, information about the trail, all that you have to do, especially the ones within 30 minutes of 80% of Canadians, all you have to do is go to tctrail.ca. I'm going to do that today for sure. Let's take a break, everybody. We're going to be talking about senior mental health right after this break. We'll be back. We're back, everybody. Well, no age group or generation is immune to the challenges of anxiety and depression or even loneliness. And that is why today we wanted to have a conversation about seniors' mental health.
Here to do that with us is Claire Checkland, the Executive Director of the Canadian Coalition for Seniors' Mental Health. Claire, we're really happy to have you here today. Thanks
good to have you here. All right, so let's start this conversation off with a common narrative about senior mental health that you find damaging. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, one of the things I worry about a lot is that there's sometimes a bit of an assumption that a certain sort of mood decline comes with aging, that you're kind of quieter, a little less involved. And, to a certain extent, you might get a little less involved because you don't want to be as involved. But if your mood is declining for some time, just like if you were any other age, you're just as entitled to help. And so that's what we try to make sure we're messaging, I guess.
Now, interestingly, you say that older adults are less likely to disclose their mental health struggles to their doctors. And also the doctors are less likely to ask their senior patients about their mental health. Talk about why that might be.
Well, I think a little bit of that is a generational thing, maybe. I think a lot of us have now started to be brought up to talk about mental health and well-being, and some older generations, it's not top of mind. Also, I think a lot of older adults, when they do get to see their healthcare providers, if there is a mental health issue, they might be talking, that's more showing itself in different ways. Maybe their stomach's hurting, they're not eating the same, they're not sleeping the same, maybe they're feeling irritable. Sometimes they have to prioritize the topics that they bring to their healthcare professional. Sometimes there's a sort of one topic, one appointment thing, and if they've got a very painful hip and feeling a little bit down, it's the hip that gets the priority. So I think there's a number of things at play.
I think there's a common narrative out there, certainly, and I think it applies to all the seniors that I know in my life, where, when you're older, you just get set in your ways, and this is how I want to live. But what do you make of that framing?
I think a lot of us are like that. I'm a little like that, and I'm not that much older yet. But and I think that's okay. I don't think you can force people to try to shift things if they're not ready to, or if they don't recognize that there's an issue. But I think the important part is, if there is an issue at play, that we can try to recognize it in each other, look out for each other, but also in ourselves, and that we can get help if we need it.
All right. So have certain modalities been shown to be most effective when it comes to senior mental health care?
You know what? The truth is that pretty much all of the treatments work just as well for older adults as anybody else. There are a few things that are unique, obviously, about aging. You've been around a longer time. So there is a therapy called reminiscence therapy, which is an interesting one, where you can kind of sit and go through old times, good and bad, things that you've recovered from, challenges you faced, and you can sort of remember that that good, that there's cycles to these sorts of things, and that's an interesting one that's maybe unique for older adults, which is exciting. Okay. Yeah.
I found it interesting that there's some community initiatives and programs that are available to people across the country right now. Can you highlight a few of those?
Yeah, for sure. There's a few of my very favorites. One of them is called Men's Sheds. Absolutely love this one. It's virtually, I think it's national at this point. One of the wonderful things about it is it's not, so oftentimes programming with older adults, the assumption is it's for older adults. This is done by older adults, and it's about elevating and remembering the strengths that those older adults, in this case men, have. So there's some where, say, they do bicycle repair, because their hands, they work with their hands, they always have, and they still have those skills even if they're not working anymore. There's some that are building sheds, there's all sorts of things. And some communities have parallel programs for women as well, which is fabulous. There's another one I've been hearing a lot about in the last little while, which is Dancing with Parkinson's. Again, it's meeting you where you're at, helping people, through movement, even in their chairs, virtually at home, or some communities have in-person ones. And then, one of the things I often actually suggest, we're very lucky actually, I hadn't realized that Britain doesn't have parallel to this. I was meeting with a British colleague about how to recommend community programs, and I said 211, and they said they don't have 211. But here in Canada, across the country, you can dial 211 and they can help tell you what programs are available in your community. And then you have to take the next steps on your own, but it's a good, very good resource.
Oh
Good
my
to know.
gosh.
Yeah, I didn't know about 211.
We
wonderful.
love this.
Yeah.
So somebody might be watching, and either they or someone they know is maybe a little more introverted. They're a senior. They're not the one who's going to run out to the club or to, the group activity.
Yeah.
What's your advice for that person if they genuinely do want to try to get out and involved and connected?
Yeah. So I'm actually very introverted. I don't think that probably will surprise you, but so I'm in that group, and for me, what I actually do and I recommend is just trying to remember things I enjoy. If I'm having downs, things I enjoy, try to find ways to gently reintroduce those things. Sometimes breaking down steps towards those goals into like the smallest steps possible. I often I was thinking to myself about when I had my first child, for example. Some days were a success if my child was still alive, had eaten, and I had showered that day, and I celebrated the win for that. And I think we can all benefit from that sort of thing, setting small goals, and sometimes having a friend or a family member that you gently suggest that they gently help you pursue that goal, not in an aggressive way, and then that they also celebrate the wins that you've achieved.
Love that.
Yeah, I hope this segment inspires people to do just that. Claire,
Yeah,
thank
I
you
hope
so much for joining
Thank you.
us. What an important topic. Okay, so we want to let you know that you can head to, and it's on the screen, ccsmh.ca. That's where you can find resources and organizations that are available to you. Do a little nudge at the table tonight, and to get out there. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. We're back, everybody. Well, next time on the show, host and managing editor of W5, Avery Haynes, is back. We love her. This time, she'll be telling us about her latest investigation into the death of Canadian Kira Agnew at a Cancun resort. It's a really interesting story, and she's found some amazing details. Plus, also tomorrow, it's soup and stew season, but did you also know citrus is at its peak? So we're going to be trying out recipes that make the most out of that bounty. Are you into soups and stews
Oh, yes.
this season?
Give me a good chili. Chili's a soup, right?
Yeah.
Good chili.
Is it a soup?
Is it a soup? Chili's a soup, right?
Oh,
This is a good soup.
We should have this as a discussion topic tomorrow.
Chili's gotta be a
chili's
soup.
a chili.
Stew, something. I like chili is what I'm trying to say. I really like a good chili.
Man, warming, cozy, love
Yes,
it.
Potato
exactly.
leek.
Some of that.
Pumpkin soup.
I know what I'm having for dinner. Thank you all for making it out today. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you same time, same place tomorrow. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.